I'm Emily Haravel, and this is Why We Sing. We all know that music, among other things, is entertainment. For the whole of human history, people have been creating music as a way to pass the time and to tell stories and to keep each other amused, in addition to using it for ceremonial, religious, or other purposes. But never before has there been a time when music has been consumed more than it has been created. We're at a unique part of human history in that regard. And it all started when we learned to preserve sound, to make recordings. It started with Thomas Edison inventing the phonograph in 1877, and then about a decade later, wax-coated cardboard cylinders became the first recordings that were readily available, and that soon became records, and records became popular in the 1930s. And ever since then, we've seen a fundamental shift in the role of music in our society. Music has become a commodity, something that we buy and sell rather than something that we create. And while live performances have always involved an aspect of sale in the form of tickets and admission, at no time in history has music ever been produced and sold on an industrial scale the way it has been in the 20th and 21st centuries. Now, when records started becoming popular, this gave ordinary people unprecedented access to extremely high quality music. People who before couldn't afford to attend a live performance could usually buy a record at a much more reasonable price. And with a modest investment in a record player, early models were called the phonograph and later the gramophone, the whole family could now enjoy professional, quality music right in their own living room. And over time, this form of listening led to a decline in personal amateur music making. I mean, why listen to your sister's mistake-filled rendition of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata when you could hear a flawless recorded performance over and over again, anytime you want? This shift from creating music at home to listening to music created outside the home has had a profound impact on music making across the world. Whereas only 100 years ago, almost everyone used to sing to some degree, now we largely leave the singing to the stars. And I think that this has had a hugely detrimental effect on the way we engage with music. For example, take the variety of music that we hear. You would think that in the age of recording, we would have access to endless varieties of music from all over the world, right? Well, that's not the case. In fact, in some cases, the technology of recording has actually served to erase variety in music. In some cases, completely eliminating actual styles and unique forms. Take, for example, in Ireland in the early 20th century, a recording of a popular fiddler from Galway became really popular in both Ireland and the United States among Irish immigrants, and almost single-handedly, it eradicated different regional styles of fiddling. As the recording circulated around the world and became more popular, fiddlers across Ireland decided that they would mimic the Galway style rather than retaining their own unique regional styles. And so this one regional sound came to exemplify for most of the rest of the world what Irish fiddle sounds like, even though it did not represent the dozens of variations that had existed across Ireland before the Galway style rose and homogenized them. I think here in the United States, we are now seeing a decline in personal involvement in music that is more rapid than it has ever been. The number of pianos, for example, that you see for sale online, or not even for sale, but just being given away for free. People can hardly give them away. This paints a really clear picture. Average Americans no longer consider music making to be a common activity. It's certainly not up there with soccer or even chess club or 4-H. It's something that's specialized. And people are consuming their music recorded rather than creating it for themselves. And one interesting fact is that the professionals providing the recordings have become almost a new American royalty. You know, your celebrity singers like Beyonce, for example, they have immense influence over not just the musical world, but also over cultural trends, over fashion, and over entertainment. But I think the hyper focus that we now have on celebrity has a hidden price, especially for our young people. It homogenizes their perceptions of singing, and this often has detrimental side effects. I've had so many young students come into the studio wanting to better their voices or learn how to sing, and they come in already having developed terrible vocal habits in their efforts to mimic the sound of their favorite pop stars. They have no idea what it means when I say, no, well, just sing. What do you mean? I am singing. They think all singing should sound like what they hear on the radio. And as a result, they are making sounds which are actually damaging to their young and developing voices. Speaking of radio, how often do you turn it on just so that you can have something going in the background, right? Some little background noise for your day. Recorded music seems to be everywhere. Think about it. It's like a soundtrack for your life. It's everywhere you go. It's at the mall. It's at the grocery store, at the doctor's office, on the bus, in the car. We listen to music while we're cooking. We listen to music while we're doing homework. We put on special songs or CDs when we're getting cozy with our super sweetie. We are almost never silent anymore. There's this constant hum or buzz just beneath the surface of our lives. And I think when we treat music this way, we miss out. Using music as backdrop or as wallpaper, it sort of obscures its real depth and what it can be. Most importantly, it allows us to tune out the meaning of the words. And as a result, the words become less and less complex. Well, nobody's listening to them. Nobody's going to bother to decipher complex poetry, so why should I bother to write it, right? When we lose that complexity, not only do we lose the quality of the poetry, but we also end up internalizing lyrics with messages that we haven't fully thought through. I'll give you an example. A few summers ago, I was teaching a singing camp to a small group of 5th and 6th graders, and one of the girls wanted to perform a song by one of her favorite artists. I didn't know the song, I wasn't familiar with it, so I asked her to sing it for me. And about 2 lines into the chorus, I was very startled to hear her happily belting out some really suggestive lyrics. And so I stopped her and I said, I don't think that song is appropriate for camp. She looked at me, and I could see that she was both puzzled and also mildly offended. So I looked her dead in the eye, and I repeated the offensive lyric, and I said, what do you think that means? And it was like watching a light bulb go on. This expression of shock crossed her face, and she said, oh my! And then she turned bright pink, and it was a great learning moment for everybody involved. But she had never stopped to think about the meaning of the words she was singing. She just sang them on autopilot because she liked the song and it was catchy. So think about it. What's your favorite song? When it comes on the radio, do you sing along? Do you sing it in the shower? Do you know all the words by heart? Do you know the meaning of the words? Would you be comfortable singing it for a group of your friends or even for your family, maybe like your grandmother? If not, think about this. Thematic elements and meaning aside, the very act of music making has become foreign to us, and this is a great loss. It used to be completely normal for the average person to learn to do some sort of musical expression. It's how we entertained ourselves before we had records, before radio, before TV. But when we make music ourselves, we have to engage with it on a deeper level than when we just listen to it. Music that we are making demands our attention, and the words that we sing become more powerful for the message they carry. I think it takes far more courage and creativity to sing for other people than it does to pop a CD in the player or to ask Alexa to play the top 40.